Hello and welcome. Ukraine advances at several parts of the front line, but the big news is they have crossed the Dnipro, this time for real. This and more in this situational picture. We'll start off with the news from the north. The Russians have attacked east of Kupiansk, more or less along this line here. We have here Voenkor, the pro-Russian military blogger, claiming they advanced on 11 kilometers width, 3 kilometers depth, and 3 kilometers in depth. So in total, 30 square kilometers or more. I have no confirmation whatsoever if this advance has been anywhere close to this or if the Russians advanced at all. The only confirmation I have from the Ukrainian side is that the Russians did attack there in force. But as of now, I do not see any source that would indicate how far or if the Russians have advanced. It seems likely that they did. Like usually, those mill bloggers don't lie completely through their teeth. But as said, as of now, I can't prove anything. So we'll just switch to the next thing where I do have some informations. Another focus of the fighting is around Bakhmut. In the south here, the Ukrainians attacked for the first time in force in several days. We have Riba here showing that they attacked basically between Klishivka and Andrivka. And the interesting part is Riba is mentioning strongholds are changing hands. So while Riba itself says the fog of war is still covering everything, strongholds are changing hands, indicating that the Ukrainians take Russian positions. Now, this doesn't mean that they will be able to hold those positions. This doesn't mean that how far they have advanced, but it clearly shows that at least initially the Ukrainian side was able to gain some ground along this line. We also have another report here, Mayorsk. Northwest of it, along the canal, supposedly the Ukrainians gained some ground. This is a Ukrainian military blogger claiming that basically this part here was liberated. As said, again, just report from one side. I haven't seen visual evidence yet, so it might be true, it might not be true. I just can't prove it yet. Another focus of the fighting is here around the oblast border south of Velika Novosilka between Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia. Here we have reports by Riba once more that the Ukrainians pushed south at Uroshaine and managed to enter the town. Riba claims Russian counterattacks were able to push them out. I do not have a confirmation of this, but we do have, again, Ukrainian military bloggers saying that basically Russian counterattacks were happening and that the north part of Uroshaine is now the gray zone, indicating that, according to him, no Ukrainians in the northern part of Uroshaine, but also no Russians, which would still be an indication that the Ukrainians actually managed to advance. So in total, they still pushed the front line further south, even though they have not liberated Uroshaine as of yet. There are also reports that the Ukrainians gained some territory west here of Staromayorsk. In total, not much. That should be a few positions. In overall, no massive change. This is here on the hill, so somewhat of beneficial to the Ukrainians, but no major change here. We have more reports from south of Orikhiv. Here the news is a little bigger, because we have here Riba once more saying at some point they even managed to occupy the northern outskirts of Robotyne. This means that for the first time in this offensive, the Ukrainian side, we have the confirmation that the Ukrainian side actually entered the outskirts of Robotyne, basically entered Robotyne, despite other claims long time ago. There was no evidence whatsoever of Ukrainians actually being in Robotyne. Now we have the Russian side admitting it. The Russians are saying they pushed them out later. This is unproven, but what is proven that the Ukrainians have reached this. Where their current position is, I cannot confirm. The classic Russian doctrine is flexible defense, meaning that if the enemy pushes you in, you try with counterattacks to push him back. So it's fairly possible that the Russian counterattacks were successful and actually managed to push the Ukrainians out, but it shows us that the offensive continues here and still manages to creep forward very slowly. Also, the report are that those attacks are mostly with infantry and infantry only. Now and then is there one or two IFVs in support. So the offensive here is mostly artillery and infantry as of now. But the real big news is coming further west. on the Dnipro front. Now we have the usual island fighting here. The Ukrainians, according to the Russians, are trying to occupy several of the islands here in the delta. The fighting is going on here on Potemkin Island. We had visual evidence recently that the Ukrainians have step foot on this island because we've seen artillery fire on those positions, and we know that the Ukrainians have a foothold here on the over the Dnipro River, and they were able to extend their control over this. But what is the real big news is what we have here. According to the Russian, again, Riba here, the Ukrainian side has landed at Kosachi Laheri. This is here, and they actually came with seven fast boats with 6 to 7 soldiers each, so roughly 50 soldiers, and they were landing here. And this is an important thing because this, for the first time, would be, if you allow me to call it, would be a landing on the mainland. Any other operation that we've seen so far still had rivers in between it and the Russian positions, but whether it's here where we have the river here, whether it's here where there's still some water here, all of it was basically still with water in between the own position and the main Russian forces. This would be different for the very first time. Should the Ukrainians be able to establish a position here, then they have forests close by and settlement close by to get additional cover for their positions, which might in the long term allow them to bring in reinforcements, even mechanized reinforcements. As of now, it's unclear what happened to those landing force. I've read Russian claims that they were defeated. There is a video circulating showing 3 prisoners of war, which supposedly is part of this landing force. I've seen claims now, though, that this video seems to be old and the officer in the video supposedly hasn't been heard of for several days, so it's unclear from when that video is. It might be authentic. I'm not at a point yet where I can say it's a fake or it's real. It might be authentic, it might not be. I also have claims that the Ukrainians are sending additional reinforcements there, while I see others claiming that the landing has been utterly defeated and the Ukrainians had to withdraw. As said, as of now, I cannot fully confirm it. What we do see, though, is here films showing fires on the ground. This is the very position, and there we see what happened. This is an indication where artillery fire is happening, and as you can see, you have a concentration of fire here along where likely the landing happened. Interesting too is that we have another concentration of fires here and here, which would probably indicate counter battery fire. It might be possible that there was a mortar position here or even artillery shelling this, and this was Ukrainian artillery shooting back at them, and then got fired upon in counter battery in an artillery duel. This would at least be the indication from those fires here. As said, this isn't really meant to discover artillery fire, even though it can be used for this, so it's not really that accurate, but it shows us a picture that there was definitely bigger artillery fire on this position. So we do know the Ukrainians have crossed over. They have actually set foot on this side of the Dnipro for the first time in a sizable force. There were likely some commando raids further. Whether they are still controlling any territory here is unclear. I cannot confirm it as of now. We'll have to watch the developments. As said, right now the informations are either they were utterly defeated or they're sending in reinforcements. I do not see a real final answer to what happened to that landing operation. We will observe it here on this channel, so if you don't want to miss it, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. If you like this situational picture, please hit the thumbs up button. It really helps with the algorithm, and write in the comment section whether you think this might be the way for the Ukrainians to avoid going through the strong defensive lines here in Zaporizhzhia by simply crossing the river, whether that's a realistic perspective. And before I miss it, there's also claims going around that I think the commander of IDAR has said that the Ukrainians have reached the second line of the second fortification line. I do not see where, though. So I have no idea what the claims should be, because wherever we look, they are far away from any second line, unless this is being considered the first and this the second, or something like this. So I cannot confirm that either. Nevertheless, this channel is only possible because of the support of viewers like you. If you like to support the channel, you can do so by the means in the description. Thank you very much to everyone already having supported this channel. And that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.